Worms. Recommendation for treatment, prevention, diagnosis, causes and symptoms. Informative about science and medicine, prepared by the editors of Page or Scientific. More than 300,000 species of helminths are known on our planet that affect vertebrates. In human, 3,300 species of helminths are observed. According to other sources, more than 12,000 species. So, to be treated with nothing just will not work, although most of them are in the tropics. That's only if we do not take such tourists from tropical countries where we like to relax: Turkey, Cyprus, Egypt, Thailand. The most common types of humans. In first place are pinworms with 1,002,000,000,000 infected peoples. In second place are hookworms with 9,000 million infected peoples. And third place is whipworm with 7,000 million infected people. How many people are infected with worms on our planet? 24% of the world population is infected with worms, or more than 1.5 billion people. In which region can you get infected with schistosomes? Africa and Asia are famous for their schistosomes, and you can get infected with them very simply if you swim in a local freshwater reservoir or drink water from local source. Mainly schistosomes enter the body through the genitourinary organs. Where can you get filariae? You can also get acquainted with filariae during your vacation to the island of Fiji, Mozambique, Guam, Tahiti, and also Egypt. The main carriers of these parasites are mosquitoes. Where can you get infected with flukes? The most dangerous food is raw fish and also uncooked. The fluke is one of the many parasites that can be found in raw fish. In China, Japan, and Russia. Symptoms of fluke infection. After tasting a piece of such fish, meaning infected, after 15-30 days you can feel unpleasant feelings in the liver area, as well as a rash. How to avoid fluke infection? Many worms are waiting for the next host to bite the raw fish, so the fish is only fried or boiled. Fans of caviar, sushi, salted or dried fish too are at the risk of contracting a fluke. Why do you think that there are not other worms? Make no mistake, we found them in other well-known products. Here Europeans and Americans are very fond of steaks with blood, and here lies another danger, trichinosis. Other helminths cannot even compare with this, because trichinella is one of the most dangerous. They can settle in the muscle tissue and lead to death. In addition to trichinella, such an European dinner can give other parasites, pork and bovine tapeworm. How to avoid infection with roundworms and pinworms? Even when we eat vegetables and fruit, we need to think about the fact that another threat of infection looms. roundworms, and pinworms. This is why our mothers taught us to wash fruit and vegetables before consumption. Most often, the threat comes from spicy herbs, which are brought to us from the southern regions. Why can't you walk barefoot in the tropics? When in the tropics, avoid running or walking barefoot on local paths or sandy shores. The fact is that in this way you can capture other types of parasites. In the harmless sand, various parasitic larvae even often hide, which can very quickly penetrate the body even through the skin of the feet. So sometimes after returning from trips, you can find some kind of larva under the skin, just like in some horror movie. Positive aspects of worms. I think that through such pets are wandering around is not very warm, but let's be optimistic because life is beautiful. The microcosmos around us is filled with all sorts of surprises, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and we contain all kilograms of such biomass, and there is nothing pathological in this. We are not designed to live in absolutely sterile environment, where we will simply die. Some of these organisms have a positive effect because they are involved in improving immunity, the synthesis of certain vitamins, and digestion work definitely thanks to them. Which worms are considered safe and which ones are especially dangerous? Intestinal parasites are considered safe, and parasites that live in other organs are considered especially dangerous, lungs and liver and eyes and even in the brain. What are the symptoms of a worm infestation? A very interesting fact about this is that the larger the helminth, these are giants that reach up to 10 meters, the calmer it behaves. The main signs of infection with worms are high fever, hives, redness, itching, rash of the body, chills, bloating and abdominal pain. If you find out your situation, then you need to see a parasitologist. In what situation should you think about infection with worms? During your recent vacation around the world, you ate various local dubious delicacies, swam in hotel pools where the water was not chlorinated, walked barefoot on the beach, lay naked on the sand grass, touched local dogs and cats. Rules of personal hygiene in order not to get infected with worms. Regarding food, let's start with the fact that in exotic countries you can only drink bottled water. Fruits, even they look very appetizing, must be peeled or boiled. In a simple form, it is by no means recommended to use them. Other questionable food are uncooked meat, raw fish, any form, even sea. Freshly squeezed juices are also banned. Juicing fruits do not always go through the washing process. What other rules must be followed? On the beach, don't risk walking barefoot on the sand, grass, trails and exotic country. Use a sun, lanyard and slippers. Swimming. It is forbidden to swim in the freshwater reservoirs of India, Central Africa or South America. There are so many parasites that even the movie Alien seems like a children's fairy tale compared to this. Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are very dangerous parasites because they are serious carriers of many infections. And helminths. Avoid direct contact with them. You need to use repellent, wear long sleeves clothes and sleep under the canopy. Linen. It is strictly forbidden to dry linen in the air exotic countries. The problem is that flies from tropical countries are very fond to laying eggs on it. and when you put on swimming trunks, larvae will hatch and cause dermatitis. Where to do tests to detect worms? Do tests only in specialized state clinics. Doubtful institutions are not recommended to do such tests. Now let's talk about the so-called universal diagnostics. In such a case as the detection of helminths, this is not possible. If you were offered such a service, you are being deceived. If they are in the bladder, you will have to pass urine in the intestine when faces, in the muscle mass when they will have to an X-ray of a muscle, in the liver ultrasound. What should we remember about helminths? The main thing is not to panic and not to drink any medication for prevention. If you have any doubts on this issue, then go to the doctor. Tests should be taken only in good specialty clinics. Any medication taken for prevention can only do harm. If you were recommended some dietary supplement for worms in some clinic, this does not mean that you will all get better. So this issue should be taken very serious. The most common myths about helminths. Sea fish do not contain parasites. Who told you this? Most of the worms contain fish which have not undergone the necessary processing or vet after catch, was not immediately cleaning before freezing. This is how you increase your chance of getting infected. You can get worms more easy from dogs than from cats. Indeed, dogs have such a habit of tasting the face of their relatives. The most dangerous helminths that can be taken from dogs are echinococci, very dangerous parasites of the liver and lungs. For prevention, prescribe a course of treatment to animals 4 times a year. So, dogs can be more dangerous about this than cats. Only children can get worms. Did you believe? This may seem only because children are less accurate, wash their hands less often, and sometimes do not follow the rule of hygiene. So hygiene rules are important for everyone. A person infected with worms can infect others. Of course, this is true. Being close to such a patient, you take risk, but you may not even know. So after shaking hands, wash your hands just in case. Thank you for attention. This material was prepared based on materials of website netbalesting.ru. Attention, this material is for informational purposes only. When observing various unusual symptoms, it is recommended to consult a doctor. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye bye.